Today we're going to discuss the procedures involved in making a silicone rubber mold. I'm going to show you the various supplies and components that are necessary, and then we're going to discuss the procedures involved in mixing the chemicals, measuring the volume, and producing the mold. We're going to use this Polytech Platsil number 7130 silicone. We've used this for a long time, and in my opinion this is the best for our particular manufacturing purpose. The hardener is also made by the same company for the same product. We're going to have clean mixing containers for pouring the silicone and mixing the hardener with it. We're going to use a postage scale to get an accurate weight of the silicone so that we can calculate the relationship of the 10-to-1 by weight of the hardener and silicone. We're also going to use vermiculite. This is a lightweight sand-like product that we're going to use to measure the volume of the box that we have created around the model that we're going to make the mold of. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is measure the volume of this box that contains the mold. Okay, I'm going to use this vermiculite and fill the cavity until it's slightly overfilled, and that's going to give us an accurate measurement of just how much of the expensive silicone is going to be necessary. Okay. Now that's slightly higher than the box. A little bit is a matter of safety. Okay, so I'm going to measure that with this cup. And I'm going to level this like this, and this is showing me that we're going to need between 6 and 7 ounces of the raw silicone. Okay? The next procedure is going to be putting the silicone to an accurate measurement of the 7 ounces and then measuring it with the weight scale, because the 10-to-1 by volume, by weight, is very, very important to accurately capture the correct amount. Okay? This stuff is very thick and very thick viscosity, and I'm going to want to get a very accurate depiction of 7 ounces. Okay, that's very close to 7 ounces, which is a little bit more than we actually need to fill this cavity. Now, the 10-to-1 mixture is very simple to do. This cup, when it's empty, weighs 1.1 ounce. Okay? I'm going to turn this on till it comes to zeros, and I'm going to weigh our cup. This is 10.4 ounces. 10.4, okay? From that 10.4, I'm going to deduct the weight of the cup, 1.1. That gives us 9.3. In order to achieve 10-to-1, you simply move the decimal point 1 point. So instead of 9.3, I'm moving the decimal point 1 position, which is going to be 0.93, which is slightly less than an ounce. Okay? This hardener is very thoroughly shaken. This cup doesn't weigh enough to even measure in the 1/10 of an ounce, so you would consider that as 0, which would still maintain 0. And now I'm going to pour to 0.93. Okay? Now that is showing a 0.5. There's 0.7, there's 0.8, there's 0.9, okay? A very slight more is going to be what we need, okay? There's 0.93, less than an ounce. I'm going to mix that in with the silicone in this small container. The size of the container is important because when we debubbleize this in this machine, it's going to expand up to 5 times its current volume in the cup. We're going to be fine to do the whole procedure in this cup. If it was a bigger mold, we would certainly want to mix in a larger container in order to accommodate the expansion of the silicone when we vacuum chamber it, okay? I'm going to mix this very, very thoroughly. And in doing so, you've got to be real careful to get the bottom of the cup where there's still a lot of white unmixed material. The dark green makes it real easy to see when you've got a real homogeneous, even mix, okay? Now we're not in a big hurry, but you don't have a half hour to achieve this. We'd like to get all this done and debubbleized in probably less than 15 minutes. Now as I'm doing this, the mixing procedure with this stick is actually whipping a lot of air into this mixture, okay? And that's one of the reasons why it's going to be so important to put it into this chamber. I'm very careful to scrape all the white off the sides and the bottom of that cup and mix it so that the color of the mixture appears to be perfectly uniform in its light green shade. Okay, now we're going to put it in this vacuum chamber. I built this vacuum chamber from a cooking pot and a lid with a silicone gasket. Okay, the container is put into the chamber. The lid is, the valve here is closed and the machine is turned on. Now you're going to be able to see the air rising the level of the silicone until it falls. And at that point you're aware of the fact that all the air has been pulled out of the mix. It's very important to see it actually fall down after it has come up. You can see all the bubbles coming out of it and the elevation coming much higher now. Okay, with that small volume, it wasn't a problem of it running over. The surface of the silicone has fallen, and you can still see these large bubbles being evacuated from the chemical. They're not as large as they appear. They're actually microscopic, very, very small bubbles of air which are continually being evacuated from that mix. We only need a couple more minutes of this. You're never going to stop all that from happening, but when you open this valve, all those bubbles will dissipate, and you'll be able to see a very smooth mixture that is ready to be poured over the model and the mold box. Okay, with the pump turned off, I open the valve, and you can see a very smooth mixture of silicone, and now I'm ready to take this out and pour it into the model. Okay, we're getting ready to pour the silicone into the cavity that we built around the model. The first thing that's necessary to do is to level the model, which I've propped up with these shims, to get it very carefully leveled so that we can pour an even level cast. Okay? Now, the silicone is poured into a low part of the mold and allowed to come up over all the parts. You really want the silicone to rise on its own to cover all the details of the model. as you see the way it's creeping over into the middle here. That's perfect. Now this will create its own level in a few minutes. We just want to make sure that we don't have too much or too little silicone. We like to be as close to full of the box that we can, okay? This looks as though it could use a slight little bit more. And that will all flow out on its own and be perfectly level in just a few minutes. Okay? Now that's going to take about 18 hours to cure, at the end of which we're going to have a very durable silicone mold that's going to allow us to pour the liquid plastic and produce the parts that we're going to deal with on the next session.